You know, it baffles my mind the differences between how shitty the main roster of wrestling is and NXT is. Triple H, who runs NXT, for those of you living under any kind of rock, runs NXT and he gives WWE the blueprint to succeed every single week. Yet somehow, every single Raw and SmackDown is terrible. Last night, prime example, NXT TAKEOVER Portland. You can ask anybody that you know, and they will tell you that this show was a 9 or above. NXT TAKEOVER Portland was one of the best top-to-bottom wrestling shows I've seen in probably the last 3 or 4 years. This show was fantastic. Not only that, let's review. This is my first NXT TAKEOVER review. We're going to review NXT TAKEOVER Portland right here, because this show is one that you're going to want to go back and watch. And if you've already seen it, watch it again. I'd love to sit up here and tell you that I could have this type of enthusiasm for Raw pay-per-views, or they don't do separate branded pay-per-views, but have this type of enthusiasm for regularly scheduled pay-per-views through WWE's year. Super Showdown is next Thursday, and to be honest with you, if you're one of those people that think that it's one of those pay-per-views that you don't need to watch, you're right, because the show who cares? Every Saudi Arabia show is built around bringing stars that are way past their prime back into the spotlight. Not only doing that, bringing them back into the spotlight to beat superstars who need a push. I mean, it baffles my mind, and these are coming. I'm 22. I was not alive partially I was during the Attitude Era. But why is this coming from someone who's 22 years old, and there's been someone that has lived through generations throughout the company and has no idea what the hell he's doing? It's just, it's just Super Showdown. Nobody gives a shit. And that is not just me speaking, that is everybody speaking. Nobody cares. There's matches on there. How many times have we seen Roman Reigns fight Baron Corbin? 72? Why do we need to still see that? No one cares. So that's my point on that. Nobody cares. Other matches, Goldberg, nobody cares. We don't care. Every Saudi Arabia show that has come so far has been terrible. The last one was okay. The ending was good. Everything in between, who cares? But no more of this, because now it is time to talk about NXT TAKEOVER Portland. This show was absolutely phenomenal, and every single match was good. I don't think there was a single match that was below a 4-star quality match. We're going to talk about every single match that was on this bad boy. And kicking off the show was Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic, and this is a match that we've seen before, and it is something that we were excited to see again. Both of these two start fighting. The match starts with them fighting on the outside. This match was a really, really good match, and it was hard to see any of the other matches coming up and kind of just giving a run for them. Like, how can you start off with a match this good and have the show get better as it goes on? And that's really what happened. The tag team match was phenomenal, but again, we'll get to that in a minute. They're fighting outside. Keith Lee does a nice suplex outside. There was a part in this match where Dominic Dijakovic was on the top rope, and he hit a avalanche drop. So that's pretty much just having him like this. Keith Lee's a big boy, by the way, so that's not anything that's easy to do whatsoever. And he dropped him, kicked out of that. And it feels like every time there is a big suplex kind of move, the bigger the person, the more of the impact and the more it's felt. What I mean is basically with Keith Lee, when the Big Show gets suplexed, not anymore, God forbid, but when the Big Show gets suplexed, it is a bigger moment because he's a big dude and it requires extreme strength to do something like that. That is basically what happened. And it was an avalanche drop by Dominic. He then went to the corner and was going to charge Keith Lee. And Keith Lee did kind of what he did to Adam Cole that one time on NXT and just threw him into the audience. Completely bodied him. Now, this move right here could have been very bad for Dominic Dijakovic. There were actually a lot of spots throughout the night that I felt could have been a lot worse. We're going to name some of those going forward. But again, that was kind of just what happened there. And when he landed, his neck kind of like whiplash just a little bit off of the bottom rope. It didn't look like anything too serious, but again, that could have gone really, really bad for him. They were outside. Keith Lee had Dominic against the barricade, sort of, and he just slapped him. and kept slapping him. He did those chops where he quiets down the crowd and then he slaps him. Dominic, this was a really good move. I actually like this move. So Keith Lee was on the, I'm pretty sure this was on the outside. This was dope. Keith Lee was on the outside next to the announcer's table. He was a little bit dazed, and he was sitting in a chair, sitting in a steel chair, and Dominic Dijakovic goes inside the ring and does a springboard. Now, these are not lucha libre fighters. These are not guys that are typically smaller that you would see fighting this type of style, and he dives into it, and it was just a really awesome moment. So he springboard onto Keith Lee. Action gets back into the ring. Lee hits a powerbomb on Dominic, and he does one of the best power bombs in all of wrestling. And Dominic kicks out somehow. There was a Spanish fly from Dominic, and Keith Lee kicked out. Keith Lee would then, they would trade a little bit. Keith Lee would hit his finisher. Keith Lee would then hit the finisher. 1, 2, 3. Keith Lee would win and retain the North American Championship. This match was absolutely fantastic. If you're one of those people that are debating on what to watch, well, first off, if you have the time of doing so, go back and watch this whole damn show, because this show was phenomenal. And this is honestly will go down as probably one of my favorite shows ever. And that should speak volumes, considering that I've been watching wrestling for a decade and a half, nearly. So that is just something that you kind of really need to do. Keith Lee hits, retains the North American title. And the next match was a women's street fight. Now, we don't typically see women's street fights, not normally on the main roster, not because the women can't handle it, but because the women on the main roster are not really that exciting. There's some feuds going into WrestleMania that are going to be pretty exciting. I think Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler will tear the house down. But Teagan, Knox, and Dakota Kai, and this match started before it should have started. Dakota completely jumped Knox as she was making her entrance and gets going. Knox would then spear her moments later through a barricade, and this match was 100 miles an hour from the start. So automatically, shit is going down at this point. There was a DDT by Kai. I think it was a tornado DDT on the outside, which was a very nice move. And there was also Teagan Knox did an inverted senton onto Dakota Kai, who was outside of the ring with a trash can. That was a dope move. Kai continues to hit Teague's leg with the trash can lid. There was so much going on. It was really hard to kind of just break this match up a little bit. Teagan then put Kai's head in between a chair, and this is where the match escalated towards the finish. To me, this was a good match, but it was really kind of fast-paced, and it was kind of hard to keep up just a little bit in this match. She put Kai's head in a chair, and she goes to kick. Now, when she went to kick Kai's head, Kai misses. She then picks up the chair like this, throws it at her, and hits her with a kick. Out comes Sonya Deville's twin, who most of us had no idea who she was. I had no idea who this chick was. Now, I don't know if that makes me dumb or just like everybody else. I had no idea who she was. She came out, and she was assisting Kai. She threw Knox. Now, this was another move. This was move number 2 of the night. That could have gone a lot worse. I think that the goal with this move right here was to have Knox go through the table. But instead, this Gonzalez woman came out to assist Kai. She threw Knox onto the table, but the table went like, so this is Knox coming off the top rope, and the table went like this. So Knox fell, and I don't know if she still caught splinters or any part of that, but the table did not break. She threw her off the table, and it, like I said, it didn't break, and that was kind of what assisted Knox to the victory. Oh, actually, no, I think they called a DQ on this match. I'm actually not sure about that. My brain's in a fog for a minute. But this Gonzalez woman comes out to assist Kai on the victory. This was a nice little street fight, and this was a good match that I felt, again, another match that if you like street fights and you're one of those people, I feel like a lot of times street fights are just kind of run-of-the-mill, and it's the same every time. Like men's street fights, they don't have the it factor or the just excitement that they kind of used to have. So that was that. The next match was no shortage of that. Now, this was kind of, to me, the match where everybody was kind of just cool. This was the cool-down match, at least in the beginning. Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano was up next, and we knew that how can this show get better, and yet it still progressively got better. If you picked a match that was probably less exciting for most people, it would probably be the women's matches, and I hate to say that because women's NXT are phenomenal. NXT women are phenomenal. This was a match that was very slow and methodical in the beginning. There was just a lot of back and forth. Picture your most average wrestling match with a little bit of pace to it. That's really what this felt like. So Gargano jumps over a spear that was delivered, drops Balor. He then throws him to the barricade. Balor does a nice screw leg whip with Gargano on the rope. That was very nice. Balor jumps on the knee to hurt Gargano. He was taking advantage of Johnny Gargano's leg a lot in this match. Balor had a nice odd submission in the ring. There was a lot of submissions in the middle of this match that kind of just kept going back and forth. Gargano was going for the tope suicida, which I guess that's the name for it, but it's really just a suicide dive on the outside to Balor, but Balor catches him. He then attempted 1916, but was thrown into the steps, so this was a nice little sequence here. He then hit a swanton-like flip to the outside. That was very nice. Balor hit a back press onto Gargano, and he comes off of the ropes. Pele kick to Gargano, he falls. Now, this was one of the sequences I think is cool. It wasn't exhaustion, but I think it's really cool when they have the scenarios where a superstar, this was toward, I would say, maybe 75% of the way into the match, where a superstar gets, they get very exhausted and they have no energy. So Balor basically hit his Pele kick onto Gargano, fell onto the ground, and Gargano fell on top of him, on top of him. So basically, that is how you screw yourself in 30 seconds or less. That is kind of what happened there. Both were starting to duel shots on the apron. You know, you get that mid-match adrenaline where they're both just fighting each other and just swinging at each other. And that's what happened. Gargano then hit a tornado DDT. Balor blocked a super kick attempt that was going to be coming by Johnny Gargano. He drop kicked Balor. And then he went for, this was looking for the first kind of finishers of the evening, the coup de grace. Balor went for the coup de grace on Gargano and he escaped it. But Gargano then attempted to lock in submission, which Finn Balor did escape out of. Johnny drops Balor outside, and now this is where we get a little bit of tables involved. Again, just showing that X Factor kind of a little bit. Balor dropped Johnny onto the table, and Balor then dropped Johnny on the outside. Well, actually, no, I got this wrong here. He throws him into the ring. This is what's happening. So Balor hit the drop kick. He was running across the table, and he hit a drop kick onto Johnny Gargano. He then threw Johnny Gargano into the ring. Balor dropped Johnny on the outside, throws in the rings. Like I said, he hit the coup de grace. Now, this is, again, the ending sequence of this match was just, Finn Balor looked so mean and dominant, and I fucking loved it. I hate to use the F word, but I just really, really loved it. Finn Balor hit his coup de grace, and he wasn't done yet. So I was figuring that there was a different way that this could end here. But Balor hit that. He then picked him up, looked angry, hit the 1916 for the win. Finn Balor gets the win over Johnny Gargano. However, this will continue on. Johnny Gargano will be involved later in the show. And this is a great way to end the show, and that's kind of what we'll go. Well, this wasn't the end of the show, but the ending of the show was very good. We'll get to that in a minute. Next up, Women's Championship match. Now, I felt that this match wasn't going to be all out because we were kind of just subject to 3 matches that were just balls to the wall, like insane. And it was Rhea Ripley defending her NXT Women's Championship against Bianca Belair. And one of the things about this match was I felt like it could have been a lot better. But again, every match can't be a 5-star classic. This was a good match. I don't think it's a match that's required for anybody to go back and watch, but I did enjoy this match. But I did feel like there was a lot more potential between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair in this match. Rhea Ripley was in control mostly early, but it was a back-and-forth match. Belair had a nice submission in. Ripley was using knee strikes. She's a very, very good striker, and she's made mention of that very, very well. Rhea Ripley, again, had her tough submission in, and Belle escapes. There was a lot of submissions in this match. Belle hits a nice spine buster. Belle then big lifts Ripley from the ropes and drops her. Handspring was reversed. Belle hits a spear. Now, at this point, this match was kind of very quick. This was probably the shortest match of the night. Bianca hits a rolling senton onto Rhea, who is outside at this point, which was a nice, good spot. Rhea drops Bianca into the steel steps. Again, a lot of steel steps being utilized in this show. Rhea would then go from the top rope of Bianca. She would hit the Riptide, and Rhea Ripley would retain her NXT Women's Championship. But that exactly was not how this whole entire segment ended. Charlotte comes out. We didn't get much of a warning of her, because she assaulted Rhea Ripley. And she says that she thought about what Rhea says about the WrestleMania challenge, and she says that she will meet her at WrestleMania. She then hits natural selection on Rhea Ripley. And then this is where one of my friends who I was watching the show with mentioned this as a possibility. She hits Rhea Ripley and says she'll meet her at WrestleMania. She then hits natural selection, and then she assaults Bianca. So now this is where we could see a triple threat match, which I think would be a lot more enjoyable. Bianca, Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley. I'm not quite sure if that's something they would do. Maybe a pay-per-view in February, they'll give Bianca a shot to put herself into that match. But I'm not quite sure if they would do that because I feel like they're so sold on Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley at that. The next match was probably my favorite match of the night, and that was the Tag Team Championship, and that was the Broserweights versus the Undisputed Era, and it looked like that this was probably my favorite match of the night, personally. Undisputed Era versus Pete Dunne and Riddle. Riddle comes out, and he's doing his little bit of a singing things. How much fish could Bobby fish if Bobby Fish could fry fish? And they're coming out on a golf cart. Pete Dunne's just sitting there laughing. Out they come on a mobile, but the Undisputed Era figured that enough was enough, and they charged them. Pete Dunne was in control mostly by himself early in this tag team match. Dunne was getting double teamed for a while in this match. There was a nice hot tag to Riddle, who was not in this match, at least in the beginning, for quite a while. Full control. Pete Dunne misses a leg kick to the pole outside, and I always feel like that's a good way for you to break your leg, unintentionally. Riddle and Riley were dueling inside the ring. Riddle then hit a double knee strike and then another hot tag to Pete Dunne, so there was multiple sequences in this match. Dunne puts Riley in an armbar, and then Riley reverses it. He puts him into an ankle lock, and Riddle joins also. So, basically, what happens is that Riddle and Pete Dunne both have ankle locks in the ring. This is towards the ending sequence of the match. I hate to go so fast in this, but again, we are approaching the 20-minute mark. And again, the more popular my channel gets, the more that I'll probably elect to go on longer. But again, it's all about just kind of where that is from there. But then both the Undisputed Era have submissions locked in. Riddle kicks out. Riley kicks on the ground and drops fish. Riddle tags Dunne in. Riddle attempts to take out Kyle. He spears into Dunne. Now, this is where the oh shit moment kind of happened, where you thought that the Broserweights were not going to get the victory. He went to spear in, and he missed him, and he speared into Pete Dunne, who throws him out. So they throw out Pete Dunne. Riddle and Dunne, now they were trading sequences toward the end. They hit a double finisher in this match, and they win the NXT Tag Team Championships. This match was absolutely fantastic. All these matches were great, but this was my favorite match of the night. And I think that they will be a really, really fun tag team to watch going forward. And we'll see what happens with the Undisputed Era. Main event of the evening was Tommaso Ciampa taking on Adam Cole. And Tommaso Ciampa was looking to regain the NXT Championship that, to be honest, he never really lost. Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa NXT Championship. This was a slow flow early. This was your main event of the evening, which I don't understand sometimes. Why two guys that have a strong hatred for each other, again, this is not really my credentials, but they kind of just go into a headlock and just different things like that, and I'm like, why? Like, you guys hate each other, but let's start off with a headlock, and let's, like, shake hands and shit. Anyway, Cole attempted a backbreaker early, completely failed. He hit Ciampa with a kick on the outside. Ciampa starts abusing Cole. Now, this is where Ciampa is in full control. This is still kind of early in this match. He's throwing him everywhere. Ciampa's throwing Cole over this table, over that table, sliding over this table. Ciampa hits a knee on Cole, who was leaning on the outside, so he was leaning over, stomach on the ropes, and boom, he hits a knee on the outside. He was slapping Cole, who was sitting on an outside chair. So Cole, again, kind of like Keith Lee was earlier in the night, was sitting on a chair on the outside. He did the same exact thing. Ciampa was slapping him. Ciampa was in complete control at this point. Ciampa suplexed him into the table front. This was another move that could have resulted in an injury. So he suplexed him into the table front, but he didn't go into the table. So it was like if you were to get suplexed into a table, he hit the edge of the table, which is worse to me than going through the goddamn table. So he suplexed him to the table front. Cole had a Panama Sunrise, which he went for, was caught by a drop kick. And I love the Panama Sunrise, by the way. It is an awesome finisher. A backdrop by Ciampa, kicks out. Ciampa then power bombs. They're on the outside. Ciampa power bombs Adam Cole through the table. He repeats this again through another table. He does knee smashes inside of the ring. Cole attempts his finisher from the top, with a kick. Cole hits the last shot, comes back body drop onto the apron. That is another move. The back body drop onto the apron looks very, very painful. Cole jumps off the announce table and he flips Ciampa into the sunrise, which was really cool. Just a quick jump off the table, boom, flip into the sunrise. Ciampa hits his finisher inside of the ring and Cole kicks out. How does that happen? He then puts Ciampa into a submission, and a lot of these submissions were submissions that they were trying to escape. There was a lot of submissions at this point into the match. Now this was another thing that was really funny coming up. Out comes the Undisputed Era, right? They can't take 2 L's in one night, could they? Undisputed Era attacks, and Adam Cole goes for the pin, and Ciampa will not be defeated. Ciampa kicks out, and I love how strong they were making Tommaso Ciampa look in this match, really. And as Ciampa attacked the Attitude Era, Roderick Strong was positioned awkwardly on the ropes, and it was the funniest thing in the world. So I would go on YouTube and look up Roderick Strong leaning against ropes because it was really, really funny. He looked like a rag doll. But he was back in the ring. Again, Adam Cole hits another last shot, and somehow, some way, Tommaso Ciampa is just not done. He kicks out of the last shot. Johnny Gargano's coming out. Oh, thank God Johnny Gargano's coming out to assist Ciampa. Not quite. The belt, the NXT Championship, was right there. And as Ciampa was looking, the referee was nowhere at this sequence. So he was kind of giving Ciampa the belt and saying, use the belt, use the weapon to your advantage since they're cheating. But then as he's doing that, all of a sudden, Johnny Gargano starts to grab the belt. And he yanks it from him. So at this point, Ciampa's like, what the hell are you doing? He takes the belt, and then he hits him with it. So it looks like we are maybe seeing the Johnny Gargano heel turn that we've never seen before. So that was just really dope from that point. He took the belt from him, and he assaulted him. Knocked him out right on his ass. Adam Cole goes in. 1, 2, 3. Adam Cole retains the NXT Championship, and Johnny Gargano walks away. This is going to set up another feud with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. But what could happen is we could see a triple threat at TakeOver WrestleMania. What if we saw Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole? That is mind-blowing right there. This show was fantastic. I am running well past the time I would have liked to run. Anyway, this was an epic show, and I'd give it over a 9. You guys have to go back and watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. As always, NXT always.